Hi, it's Friday, it's 3 o'clock. Welcome to Together Unlocked. We're having some technical problems, not at our end, but with our provider, Be Live. So please do bear with us if we have to stop the stream and start it again. This seems to be the only way we can deal with this week's Gremlins. I'm Ju Gosling. I'm Artistic Director of Together 2012, who are bringing you this stream today. We're a disabled-led arts organisation based in the main London 2012 Paralympic host borough of Newham. With me in my East London studio, where she's been, I won't say trapped, but where she's been living since March, is our chair, the artist and campaigner Julie Newman. But first, and particularly because eagle-eyed viewers will have spotted that we have a different presenter today in our West Midlands office, we will go straight to the other end of our long-wheeled sofa. We will let Josh Surgeonator introduce himself with some audio description, and then he can introduce the other presenter.
So, good afternoon, everybody. I am Josh Surgeonator. I'm one of the other hosts of Together Unlocked, and I am a PhD student. And apologies if anyone was distracted by my wiggling. The camera was doing some funny placements when we went live, so I was just moving so you could actually see me. Audio description: I have long blonde hair that's swept over to one side and a rather ginger beard that is growing because I need to shave it. And today I'm wearing a fairly thick knit blue jumper that has kind of a quarter button opening at the front. Do you want me to do my dressing up now, Ju, or?
Yes, perhaps you could explain the dressing up.
Yes. So on Fridays we do dressing up to go out to stay in, which is I think came from New Zealand originally with their formal Fridays. We've adopted it, but to kind of be whatever we'd like it to be. So we do this every week for an event that's either real or imaginary that we would like to go to, or pretending that we're going to if we weren't in a pandemic. So today I'm wearing my slightly posh blue jumper, and it's nothing any kind of particularly exciting, but it's getting into kind of winter time, and it's just to go and get a nice kind of coffee or hot chocolate in the park, have a stroll around with some crunchy leaves with some friends, and just kind of have a nice relaxing afternoon stroll. So it's not a very exciting thing to do, but it's something that's quite relaxing and that I would like to be doing if only we could meet up with people that we don't already live with. And then in terms of our other host, this isn't Robin. This is indeed Tracy Surgeonator, because Robin Surgeonator has been waylaid with having to do the school run this afternoon. So do you want to introduce yourself, or do you want me to introduce you? So I'll introduce her. So this is Tracy Surgeonator. She's a potentially one-time co-host of Together Unlocked. And do you want to do your audio description?
Yeah, I will. Hello, thank you for having me. My audio description is that I've got long, gingery blonde hair, although Josh has denied having ginger hair all the way through the show. I've got it up in a high ponytail at the back. And I am dressed up to stay in to go out. And I'm wearing a grey T-shirt with a picture on it that it's got some words in French. And I'm wearing a bolero jacket with, and if I get over that way, it's got studs on each shoulder. So I'm rocking the 80s look because I'm hoping to go to an online 80s disco over the weekend.
Wow. I think we could just turn Tracy's microphone up very slightly, and we should also explain that Tracy has indeed been working on the show since the start, but she's the person who's monitoring everything and sending us messages in the background. So it's really nice to see you in front of the camera. We also have on our website a very full join in from home program. You might recognize Tracy from one of the photographs at the top of that. We're going to be telling you more more about it later. But it covers a whole wide range of the art forms that we cover, including dance, poetry, visual arts, lots and lots of family activities, photography, film, and much, much more. So, my audio description, I have short red hennaed hair in a self styled corona crop. I've got green eyes behind black plastic glasses, and I've got black wrist braces. I've got pale olive skin. I'm wearing a short sleeved white shirt covered with little foxes. I have a orange wool little waistcoat, and not really on a side that's brilliant for the camera, I have a black rooster brooch. And I am dressed up to go out to stay in to see Sahera Khan's new show, The Fox and the Cockerel, which is being featured on our Disability History Month festival tomorrow. In a little while, we're going to play you an interview I recorded with Sahera yesterday. The tickets, you go, everything we do is free. To book a ticket for tomorrow, just go to our website www.together2012.org.uk. Almost the first thing you'll see on the menu is the festival program, and just follow the booking link. You can also, without a ticket at all, come and watch it on YouTube. That YouTube stream will be embedded in our website as usual at the top of the program and also on the event page. But Sahera is a BSL artist, British Sign Language. If you want to be able to see the interpreter, then the limitations of how Zoom streams to YouTube means that you do need to get one of those Zoom tickets. So the link just takes you to Eventbrite. It's very, very simple and straightforward. And like I say, we'll hear more about Sahira's show in a minute. But Julie, you've been very patient. Who are you? What do you look like? What are you dressed up to go out to stay in to do?
Well, thank you, Ju. I'm Julie Newman. I'm the chair of Together 2012. I'm also really excited about tomorrow. Sahera, I think, has become rapidly one of my favorite poets. Today, I'm dressed up as usual with my ever growing hair, growing longer and longer. It's mid length, I would like to say, swept over. It's gold and silver, as indeed I used to be a redhead, and I'm not ashamed of it, Josh. Today I'm wearing a black t-shirt with the solar system.
Now, this is where we get arguing again, because I would say that was definitely blue.
Okay, it's a blue t-shirt with a solar system because I'm dressed up. I'm going to go on patrol around our solar system. I have some concerns currently about all this space exploration business that's going on. I think it's very interesting. I'm very excited about it, but I saw something briefly on the news this morning about the lack of resources or the limited resources on the moon. Now, we have to be very careful with our precious resources. And don't forget, there's already somebody leaping around on Mars. So I'm going to do a little bit of a security check. I'm anticipating coming back to the International Space Station. So I haven't got the right t-shirt on for that. But I'm very excited again because at the moment there's two global races going on. The Jules Verne started this week as well. And do you know they can get around the world in 40 days, just over?
You've lost me, so you might just have lost the audience at that point. I forgot my visual aid for the fox and the cockerel, but here it is, a fox puppet for anybody who can't see. And should my goddaughter Eve be watching, yes, I do still love it. Thank you very much indeed for buying it for me. I'm going to be dressing the set with more of that tomorrow. I should have said in the background that as well as the banner that we usually describe, which is, you can only see a little bit of it, but it's a graffiti banner that, sorry, I'm just adjusting my microphone a little bit. It's a graffiti banner that shows images of all the arts activities that we cover in a year, including carnival arts, street art, and things that we don't have necessarily in the Join In From Home programme. But last night in our festival, we had the return of the pop-up poetry cafe. So I decided it would be a nice idea to put up some Christmas decorations. So behind us as well, we have little glitter balls suspended on fishing line. That was kind of a foolish decision. The cats are already at them, and giving the youngest studio cat its own bit of fishing line and a broken glitter ball. Well, it didn't really want a little bit of fishing line and a broken glitter ball. In fact, it managed to get the fishing line out of the container again after I'd gone to have some supper, and we had a sort of Andrex puppy thing going on, where it's amazing how much fishing line you can wind around a house if a cat is determined. We have very anarchic pets on this show. We've got 5 cats and 2 assistance dogs in the East London base, and 2 cats up where you are. So we also have a special web page for them. If you go to our Together Unlocked TV pages on the website, there's a pull down menu. The first thing you come to is our highlights and links page. Everything we talk about today and the videos we show will appear on the highlights and links page. Below that, there is one on animal hosts where you can see pictures and a little bit of more information about the cats and the dogs, including the one that appears to be hunting around our feet at the moment. As we always say, if you see the camera shake, you know there's a cat not too far away. So, Julie, you've been reporting to us every week on the pop-up poetry group that meets on a Wednesday morning. But last night was the first time that it was the first time we'd had a pop-up poetry cafe for a very considerable time, because everything we do is free. So if we run a poetry cafe, we like to make the food and drink free. And we had a grant from People's Health Trust. When that ran out, we had to continue with the club, but make the cafe a lot less regular. But of course, dear viewer, this way, you bring your own food and drink, so no expense spared. The cafe returned last night with special guest poets from Survivors Poetry, and you came and read for the very first time. How was it?
Yeah, it was cool. It was nice to meet some new people. I met some lovely people actually, and some excellent poets, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was also nice to see old friends. And I think that's one way to break down isolation, isn't it? Is to look at how we can link up with friends, whether it's by Zoom or by telephone. I think those contacts are critical, or even by email. If it's not possible to speak to somebody for whatever reasons, I think, keeping some sort of contact going, email, text, telephone, or Zoom.
And also that you can make new friends over Zoom. I've been attending the monthly Survivors Poetry lockdown lounges. They had to pause those due to illness in September, but I hadn't met the vast majority of the people at Survivors Poetry in person, but several of them I now feel I know. So yes, don't overlook the possibility of actually making new friends on Zoom. I mean, you were pressing all the buttons, but you've never been to a pop-up poetry cafe before, Josh. How was it for you?
Enjoyable and stressful, I think. Having to kind of find out who you were going to next and then find them in the list. And it inevitably be, if someone had turned their camera off or they weren't performing, that I'd find them because you'd said, "Are they ready?" They'd agree, turn their camera on. And then because of how Zoom works, their camera would then move and I'd have to jump back if I needed to re-find them in the list. But no, the actual poetry was great. And it was really nice because it was a mix of people from Survivors and then some Together poets. So people like Duncan and Blake, who we've read a lot on the show, that I've never met in person. It was nice to kind of put a face to the name, especially for Blake's, having read quite a few of his kind of pieces, it was nice to kind of go, oh, that's who that is. But no, it was it was really enjoyable, and there's some really interesting and got really varied in kind of style as well. It wasn't just kind of one type of poetry. I guess there was lots of kind of variation in the deliveries and the styles, so it was really enjoyable.
Yes, and I think that's really characteristic of Survivors poetry, where they also have a lot of music. And we do our Zoom togethers, not in December or January, it has to be said, but on the first Thursday of most months. We've combined our usual monthly live music night with a bit of poetry, and I think it creates a really nice journey. As we always say, anybody can start to be an artist, but you don't achieve it overnight. And I think being able to go from looking, attending our group on a Wednesday morning, doing a bit of performance practice there, reading a poem or two on Zoom together, but then being able to move on, because Survivors poetry have been around for decades, but they've got such a strong reputation. They're usually based at the Poetry Cafe in Covent Garden, which is why I've never been before, because not a lot of blue badge parking in Covent Garden at Westminster. Don't even recognise the blue badge. So one of the poets we had last night was Sahera Khan, star of tomorrow's show. Sahera is an actor, a poet, a TV presenter, a comedian, and a film director. So in this interview I'm going to put up now, you just get a small glimpse into her life. Tomorrow, about 2/3 of the event is going to be an opportunity to talk to Sahera with full British Sign Language interpretation and captions. She's a fascinating woman who grew up in Newham and still lives in a neighbouring borough. So I do encourage you either to book those tickets through the website or simply to switch on tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So this is a little introduction to Sahera Khan. Sahera, we've all seen your work on the Together Unlocked live stream. We've been treated to your sign poems, your promotion of your creative workshops, but of course, mainly for us, you've starred in WhatsApp Auntie. For any viewers who don't know, WhatsApp Auntie is a series of films. It's a longer film and 9 shorter films which explain how the NHS COVID-19 app works. We created the film with less than 24 hours notice and no extra money from the government, when we were told with less than 24 hours notice that Newham was going to pilot the app and there was no accessible information. I'm going to play the video after this interview so you can all see Sahera's work on the stream. But I'm delighted to say that over 20 million people have now downloaded the NHS COVID-19 app. It's being much, much more successful than Test and Trace. The feedback we gave in Newham, I know, resulted in some very, very fundamental changes. And we couldn't have got that feedback without being able to explain the issues to people and how the app worked, which was all down to Sahera. But also in such a difficult time and with something so important, I just laughed and laughed and laughed when I edited it. I know you do all sorts of other things, but I just love your comedy work. So I'm going to start by asking, how did you get into comedy?
So really, I got involved in comedy. Well, it's from a while ago now. For a few years, I've been involved in the comedy scene, just with friends and just telling jokes, just making people laugh. And I think that sort of progressed as I got older, making more jokes, making people laugh and carrying that on and kind of bringing that into performance when I was acting as well. And I realized when I was acting, it would make people laugh as well. I thought, okay, carry on with this, carry on. And also making fun with children as well, making comedy with children. So when I started getting involved in acting, I got involved with Vegetable and Fruit Corporation, and it was a performance for children. And it was very, very, very visual. Used a lot of. It was at the V&A Museum, sorry, and it was a performance there, and everyone was laughing a lot, and everyone said, kind of gave me the name of a clown, saying I was very good, and so that was a really good piece of comedy, and it kind of just went from there, really.
But it's not just being funny. You managed to create, with so little notice, such a strong character in Auntie. And she's also a character that you recognise in every single culture.
Yeah, yeah. I think because there's always kind of visiting your auntie, or you've got that memory of what they're wearing, their behaviour, the communication. And obviously myself being deaf, I would kind of look at different communications, look at different behaviours, and saw that people always acted that way, and everyone had that kind of visual of their auntie, of their behaviours. So I kind of just copied that and went with that. So it kind of came from my mum as well.
I hope there's going to be more auntie films or more auntie work, because I just love Auntie. I'd love to know much more about Auntie. But it's also the way you managed to occupy the two characters, just absolutely brilliant. Also reminds me of Sarah Cooper, who's come to such prominence in the last few months simply by by sinking Donald Trump, but it's that same way she inhabits all of the characters in the sketch. And there's just something just very, very funny about seeing you be each person.
Oh, brilliant. Also, for me, I've created videos, a few clips. So 1 out of 1, and it's got 2 characters in. One's younger and one's a bit older, and they're both cousins. And there's a few videos there, and it's similar style of comedy, and kind of you've got the mother role in there as well. So I'm working on 4 or 5 at the moment. So I'm going to definitely carry on making more comedy things, definitely.
Well, you must be incredibly busy. How did you get into poetry?
Oh, wow. I think I learned a lot about poetry through school. I didn't really think that I would be a poet or anything. And then I started writing a little bit, doing some creative work, maybe 10 years ago, I think, around then. And so I joined a course to learn some more about writing and storytelling and poetry. And so I was just sort of putting poems down on a piece of paper, and my teacher looked at them and said, wow, it's really, really lovely poetry. And they encouraged me to carry on with my work, and just carried on with it from there, really. I think first time I joined BSL Poetry Slam, and that was the first time I delivered one of my poems when I joined that. And I started to really feel that from there my poetry was building. So I've done one of my poems 2 times. The first time I did one of my poems was in Rotherham. And it was with British Council invited me up there to do one of my poems. And it was similar to a poetry slam. So it was 2 deaf and 2 hearing there. And that was the first time I was involved up in Rotherham in there. That was about 2 years ago. So it was really, really good fun. It didn't win, but really good to be a part of. And so I think I just watched a lot of videos as well, learned from other people. And I've really enjoyed doing my own poetry. And it's just another skill, another string to my bow, and something different as well.
I didn't know all about the history of sign poetry till our film festival last year, and there was a documentary that I think was first shown on BSL Zone about a woman who'd gone over to America and brought signed poetry back to the UK. It was just beautiful. But you sign poem, you write poetry in English. How many languages do you write poems in?
Well, my first language is British Sign Language. And then I've got English, and then I've got Home Sign as well. I can some other languages like Arabic. I've got a little bit of Arabic, a little bit Swahili, but also it's very visual, BSL. So I think that's for me really. I don't really write in other languages. It's really BSL English and making it really visual. Maybe in the future, who knows? But for now, that's it.
But it is very unusual to have somebody writing in English and signing poetry. So I'm very impressed. But moving on, how did you train? What did you train in first?
Do you mean linked to poetry or just in general?
I think in general, because your artwork's so wide ranging.
Oh, okay. So my first training within my kind of career, interestingly, 10 years ago, before I was working just as a youth worker. So I was working with a deaf organisation, working in schools. And then when I was younger, I wanted to be an actress. But I felt like I was ready to join a course, but my parents said no. So I carried on studying as a youth worker. And when I was about 19, I worked all the way through. And then eventually I stopped and I got married and I decided to leave my job. I'd really had enough by then. I had a baby, now 13. So I carried on and I thought, what do I really, really want for a career in the future? And I chose an artist and an actor and a filmmaker, and I decided to pick that and start getting involved and seeing what would happen. So I started writing for the writing course I told you about before. So started there, and then I did some filmmaking. I was interested in getting involved in filmmaking, so I got given these opportunities to start developing my skills, and it was really exciting. And then wanted to have a look in an acting course, and it was looking at deaf or mainstream courses, and eventually it was in a mainstream one, and they got given a place as well, and it kind of just developed from there. I know it's kind of it's a hard job, it's not easy, I've got children, I'm doing this, it's a bit of a balancing act, but now work seems to be 2-3 years ago it was developing, and it's just been developing from then. So I have received training, but it's very basic kind of writing, acting, filmmaking courses that I've been doing. So I've not kind of done a full trained qualification yet. I'm hoping in the future I'll be able to do it. And I'm still learning a lot, and I'm still doing some training when I can.
Well, I think we learn as artists all our lives, but I haven't seen any. Well, I think short professional courses are always great. I would always recommend them. But everything you do is so skilled and so well crafted that I can't imagine that a long course would have a great deal to offer you. We're going to hear much, much more from Sahera on Saturday. In fact, when this interview goes out, that will be tomorrow from 3:00. I'm going to tell you much more about that in a minute. But just finally, for now, Sahera, how did you get into filmmaking?
Oh gosh, how did I get involved in filmmaking? I remember I wrote a very, very brief idea for a film and submitted it to a company. And the artist asked me to come for an interview and have a discussion about it. And they had said they had a possibility of going on a course to learn about filmmaking as well. So I joined, do you know Open University? It was a digital school film that they had there, digital film school. And the course looked really good and it was quite cheap at the time. So I thought, oh, I've been offered it for free and I think maybe I'll go. It's I got funding for it, which is how I could go for it for free. I think now it's quite expensive. It's 2,000 or 3,000, I think now. But I think back then it was about 500 when I was offered a place. So from then I was learning about filmmaking and different parts that were involved in that, how to write, for example, how to film, things that you can do yourself, and learning that doesn't matter, you can do it yourself. And then I had to make my own short film. And that really helped me to start that part of my career. And then I applied to BSL Zone, just for a short film online. And that was stand up. And then they looked at it and they gave me some funding for that. And then I filmed that and was involved as an actress as well. So that was really exciting. I was kind of writing, developing, creating, but it's not easy. And it's always all slow progress and all about development. But I've been involved in quite a lot of BSL Zone shows, and it's just little bits here and there, really. And I know I'm good, but I'm, still not great at computer. I'm learning. So it's all a learning curve and all developing and all creating. But I've been going for a while and I'm still going.
And I think going on to ever greater things, we always show the BSL Zone films at our film festival. So, of course, we're familiar with them and they go down at least as well with a hearing audience as they do with a BSL audience. And I think that's one of the things about your work. It's so appealing to everybody. So if you want to know more about Sahera's new production, The Fox and the Cockerel, see it launched and learn much more about Sahera's career, then join us on Saturday from 3:00. You can book tickets on Zoom to see the interpreter, or you can simply watch it on YouTube from our website. So thank you so much, Sahera, and thank you, Harry, for interpreting. So that is The Fox and the Cockerel coming up tomorrow. And now, as promised, didn't mean to do that, or at least I pressed a completely different button, but never mind. We don't even go there at the moment. I'm going to play you a video to tell you a little bit more about our Join In From Home programme. You can see the full video at the beginning of the Join In From Home website. Together 2012 is running a Join In From Home programme from our website, together2012.org.uk. Click on the link at the top of the page, Join In From Home, to go straight to the main page where you have a wide range of accessible, inclusive creative activities, mostly using things that you would already have at home. At the top of the page and throughout the pages, you will also see videos in British Sign Language to translate the site for deaf people. These videos can also be useful if you have difficulties reading and you simply want to hear more of the content. The Join In From Home programme is based on the activities that we would usually be running in East London. So, for example, we have an arts club which usually operates on a Tuesday with craft-based activities and on a Friday morning for drawing and painting. Here you can join in with the arts club's Hands project and celebrate your uniqueness and membership of the human race. There are full instructions on the linked page here. But essentially, we invite you to draw around your hand on a piece of card. It could be an old cereal packet. Cut the shape out, turn it over, and decorate it with anything you would like to do. It could be paints, crayons, glitter, collage, beads, leaves, anything you can think of. Photograph your hand or hands and send it to us at tv@together2012.org.uk. We'll add it to our video installation and share it on social media. Our music club usually meets on the first Friday of each month. We have an open mic session and we invite everybody to play along with percussion instruments. So here you can learn how to make your own percussion instruments from recycled materials. And you can also join in a percussion workshop from last summer in terms of carnival percussion. So these three instruments are used most often in carnival. We have a shaker and a go-go and a hand drum. So this is how to make a recycled shaker, a recycled go-go, and a recycled hand drum. You can also, if you're technically minded, make your own tactile sound instrument. This does require a few simple electronics, but is a very interesting and exciting project as part of our Vibrafusion ongoing work. You can also listen with Together. We have Spotify playlists created by Robin Surgeonator, also known as our TV presenter Angry Fish, and we also have 2 classical music playlists from Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, including one that's uniquely suited to people who are feeling very unwell. I don't know what's going on with the visuals today, but it always helps to make life interesting. And of course, if you are watching this recorded, it may not have happened because we try to take as much visual disturbance out as possible just to make it a bit more accessible. On a Friday, we very often have a presentation by Sterre Ploeger, and I'm delighted to say that we've got one now. Sterre finds exciting and interesting inclusive crafts to do and shows the rest of us how to do it. And as with everybody, including, of course, ourselves, people are putting their festive holiday decorations up early this year, and Sterre is no exception.
I'm Sterre, and I made a Christmas tree for my computer for Zoom.
You're still muted at that end.
Well, at least that was deliberate, or not, as it were. Julie,
Yes.
did you want to say what you just said again so we could hear you?
I just loved that. I thought it was wonderful. I think Sterre, excuse me.
Okay, I'm going to ask Tracy. Are you able just to do a bit of audio description of what Sterre was using?
Yeah, it really inspired me actually. I was actually thinking, oh, I might have a go at this at the weekend. Yeah, she'd got her piece of paper and she'd got her paper Christmas tree on it, and then I think she was using glitter paint to put some circles on, some really nice red curly circles onto a dark sort of blue page with a green Christmas tree on it. It just looked fun. It looked like a lot of fun. Particularly like the shots when she was in her Father Christmas outfit.
Yes, it was very cleverly edited by Hannah Facey for anybody who couldn't see it. So you actually saw Sterre as if she was in the room, she was sort of superimposed in a Christmas outfit over the background. It was an interesting kind of glue because it was very raised, and I like the way it has that kind of textured feel. But now it is time to move on again for something for the weekend where we recommend things to do both online and off. And I think I am going to start, although I appreciate I've been saying far too much today already. Oh, yes, Julie, if you can hold it, that's even better. The reason I'm going to start is that in addition to our own Making History Together 2020 festival this month, there are 2 other brilliant disability arts festivals, all free online for you to enjoy. So, first of no, I'll stick with Dada Fest first of all, because at least that is up, and I'll come back to the beautiful Octopus Festival in a minute. Dada Fest is an international festival based in Liverpool, but of course this year accessible anywhere in the world. It's funded by Arts Council England, and it's an international festival, so it's an opportunity for us to see artists work from all over the world. It starts today and it runs up until and including next Thursday, which of course is International Day of Disabled People. They have a very different structure to us. So most artworks are there for you to sample in your own time. There's a huge spread, but there are still live events. So tonight, for example, from 7:30 to 9, there's Alexandrina Hemsley with Zuleika Lebo in conversation. There's nothing live over the weekend, but next week there's events on Monday afternoon and evening, Tuesday evening, Wednesday evening, and Thursday evening. So, like I say, it's mostly a festival for you to enjoy in your own time. It's very, very rich in content. There is lots there. And the beautiful Octopus Club, who've run their festival throughout the month, they finish this weekend. Tonight, they have a mixtape launch party. So they're all the heart and soul artists made music during lockdown, and that's being broadcast on their website from 7 to 9:30 tonight. I think I'm going to have that on in the background when I'm at work. Tomorrow from 2 to 3:30, it's about making and sharing creative packs. So you can see some of the best artwork from their creative packs, but also create your own. And again, there's a bunch of things that you can enjoy that have already taken place, but the recordings and the activities and everything else remain online. So those are 2 fantastic festivals to add to our own. There's never been a month like it for access to disability arts. We really do encourage you to explore all of those festivals, whether you're disabled or not. While our sound is holding, I think I might just, with trepidation, pass over to Julie. Later today, we still do have our traditional song by Robin, also known as Angry Fish, but it's on video, and I forgot to check how long the video was, Josh. So,
4 minutes and 56 seconds.
well, that gives us a very appropriate. So at 5:02, we will be handing over to Robin Surgeonator, also known as Angry Fish. But over the next 10 minutes, we'll be giving you a lot more ideas about something to do for the weekend. Julie.
Yes, I got quite excited about the Natural History Museum site because there's a tremendous amount which is virtual. Do you mind just going across to the other studio for a minute? Just because I need a drink.
Yes, of course. We
you.
seem to be catching Robin's strange throat, which has no apparent cause, and now Julie's got the same throat problem as well. Josh.
Yeah, so the 2 things, aside from kind of the sport and the recurring TV recommendations, the 2 things that I found this weekend, and I'm going to read them off my phone, so I do apologize if I look down. The first one is called The Art of the Pinch. It's a lecture and demonstration of, now I'm going to spell this first, 1 for our captionist, and 2 so that when I inevitably pronounce it wrong, somebody can correct me. But it's TSUMAMI and then ZAIKU, which I'm going to go is Tsumi Zaku, maybe, or something close to that, hopefully. But it is a traditional Japanese craft of folding and pinching kind of different pieces of colourful cloth to make kind of everyday accessories, but with kind of really intricate and detailed patterns. So it's an Eventbrite event. It's completely free, and that is tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. And you can kind of craft along with two experts, and I'm not going to try and pronounce them because I don't think I would do a very good job, and I think it would stress poor Julia out.
It does sound a fascinating subject, though.
But it sounds really, really interesting. And then the other one is also an Eventbrite event, which is Sunday evening, 5 till 7, called Feminist Academics Talk Back Women's Rights in Academia in the Age of the Thoughtless Mob, which is a 2-hour talk set up by the University of Bristol on kind of talking about some of their experiences and the difficulties that women face, but specifically women in kind of academia and education. And they've got the kind of panel includes speakers from Melbourne, King's College, South Bank. So there's kind of really prestigious kind of world leading universities and female academics. So it's really interesting. I think especially through my university career, I had a pretty even split between male and female lecturers, which I think is probably uncommon, and especially in the courses that I did, which are kind of hard science courses. And also one of my two supervisors is a woman as well. So it's kind of one of those things that I'm aware of, and obviously lots of people that I do research with, or kind of co-researchers, are all women. So kind of I'm aware of some of the things that they have to deal with. So it'll be really interesting to listen to that talk.
It's almost the. Oh no, my sound's gone. You carry on.
Oh, you're sounding okay to us.
Yeah,
Have you got anything that you wanted to? I know you were looking at some museum stuff as well.
yeah. I've been looking at some virtual museums, science museums, particularly because Emily's really.
Could you just put Tracy's microphone a bit closer?
Yes.
That's it. How's that? I'm used to being really quiet when the show's on, you see, and I whisper around the house. Yeah, so as Josh prompted me there, that science museums are something that me and Emily really enjoy. So I think I'll be tapping into some of the online virtual tours that you can do in the science museums. That'd be quite good. Although listening to what Josh was doing for the weekend, I might see if I can tag along, particularly the first example that he gave. It sounds like origami with cotton, so I'm going to have a go at that as well. That sounds quite good. And of course, I'm going to be going to the
History Festival.
History Festival at the 3 o'clock
With Sahera Khan.
with Sahera Khan. Thank you, Josh. I just lost it there.
Memory prompt.
Yes, thank you. I do need that now. But also one project that I'm going to do myself over the weekend, and if Josh is not too busy, I might get him to take some shots and then put it up on our arts page. Is that a couple of years ago I got myself I went to the Christmas show at the NEC, and I love arts and crafts. I'm always looking for little bits and pieces to pick up, and I picked up this, probably about 1.5 foot wide, 1 foot high, not cardboard, but not quite wood, sort of like a really strong cardboard unicorn that I want to decorate. And I've had this unicorn since last year and done nothing with it because I went well this time last year. And I thought, do you know what? I've got the time now. I'm going to get that out. So I've got it out, and I've decided it was originally just to be sprayed and a piece of decoration. And I thought, going to be a bit more creative. So I'm going to turn one side into a chalkboard for my niece who's 3, and then I'm going to flip it to the other side and pad it out and put some little hooks on and turn it into something she can just put little bits and pieces in. I've got some little felt bags and some little netty bags for her to put a little pieces in, because 3-year-olds just have always got something to put somewhere. So I'm going to have a go at that, and I might share that with you by some photographs or a little film that Joshua might be able to put up. That's it. Thank you.
That sounds lovely, Tracy. I know our goddaughter, albeit is now quite old, still adores unicorns, and I know she'll enjoy seeing that on the site. I'll just finish, if I may. I I had a little general explore of the Natural History Museum site, and I was so excited to see. Um, they've got an awful lot on there, which is just brilliant. But there's illustrations from the HMS Endeavour. Now, the Endeavour was the ship that Captain Cook sailed around the world in the mid 1700s. And these are all botanical illustrations and just illustrations of the different places that they stopped off at. And if you can remember back or think back to, when we were young and seeing things for the first time, well, this was older people, adults going off and discovering things that they had no idea what they were. It was just an amazing exploration. I think it's interesting that the Endeavour has been adopted for some of the space programs.
Yes, I mean, skating over the kind of appalling history of colonialism
Well, there's
and
that, of course.
focusing on just a couple of things.
Oops.
Because yes, and of course I'm also such a nerd that I sit there and think, Endeavour, didn't they have one of the Star Trek ships as an Endeavour, or was
They
it?
did.
You know, I just think, really. But yes, but I think the illustrations are nonetheless fascinating, and I think fascinating to see the standard as well. We forget that, we think about the Dark Ages, and we forget that things in the Renaissance were actually being done to a higher standard than they are now. I just wanted, well, the sound is okay, to say, yes, when I was at university, it was the first time round in 1980, it was 50% female students. I went back to start my PhD in 92, and it was at least 50% female students. And I was astonished in my first term to discover that a very small number of senior lecturers were, and only 2% of professors at that time. It's hard often, if you work in the publicly subsidized arts, to think of an industry or an area that's more out of date. And then you come on to the academy.
Well, yes.
But certainly a lot of the women academics I know have left the country. They work in other countries where the situation's much better.
Yeah, I mean, I will say very briefly that one of my PhD supervisors, who is a woman, holds a very high position in the university, and our newly appointed kind of head of academic research for the entire institution, who actually came into her role in March, so she really had a trial by fire with that one, is also a woman. So I know a number of the really high, certainly research and teaching positions, or at least that I directly work with, or
You
are
probably
women, which is really good.
made a wise choice of university. I can hear my sound cutting out. So I'm going to get you, Josh, to do the goodbyes and flag up next week.
Yes. So, it'll be a few minutes before we get onto the film. So, coming up this weekend, as you mentioned at the start of the show, we do have Sahera Khan's performance, which is at 3:00 tomorrow afternoon. And if you do want to book that and you haven't already, there will be a link on the Together History Festival page, which will take you to Eventbrite to book that. And again, that is a free event, as is everything.
But we'll stick it on highlights and links too.
Yes, and as you were saying there, if you didn't come through, she's going to pop that up on highlights and links, which is also where you'll find everything that we've talked about today and links to the different recommendations. And then coming up next week on Monday, we will be back with photography and more on this week's upcoming festival, as well as a kind of recap of what happened at the weekend and links to how you can re-watch Sahera's work. And then as we kind of go through the week, we'll have our general topics of sport and gaming on a Wednesday, and then some more weekend recommendations on Friday. I believe next week is the start of the film festival as well, Ju, is that right? So I'm sure we'll be talking in much greater detail about that on Monday as well. So without, well, a few more minutes of vamping, but we'll start wrapping up the goodbyes. I thought I'd talked for longer than I had. There we go. So yeah, anything you want to talk about? Any other weekend things that you had?
No, I think I'm going to follow you for the weekend.
You're going to use
Sounds
you
good.
just following me
I
for the
am,
weekend.
I am.
So do you want to just introduce Robin?
Yes. So we will go on to Robin's song now. This is a song called "Don't Never Give Up," and it's a recording that we did way back in June or July. So it looks slightly different than he does now. So enjoy the song and enjoy your weekends, and we'll see you all on
Bye.
Monday.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, this song is called Don't Never Give Up. How many names will die in vain? How many people have to suffer the pain of the bullies and the bigots in a cruel, cruel world where the weak and downtrodden remain unheard? How many brothers have the rug pulled from under in their struggles, their triumphs as they try to recover their integrity? A coat of arms to protect us from our sisters, from the evils of harm. You gotta fight, build your head up high. Don't show a reason for them to pass you by. You gotta be strong, you gotta hold on tight. This is a war where courage will win the fight. You gotta fight, you gotta hold your head up high. Don't show a reason or a weakness for them to pass you by. You gotta be strong, you gotta hold on tight. This is a war where courage will win the fight. We're stronger than you think, which takes us to the very brink of self-control or violence, or certainly civil disobedience, as our battle cry rings for the right to a life, for a purpose and an income, not the luck of the dice. We'll win and stand together, we will self-destruct. We'll charge for all our people, don't never give up. We've gotta fight, hold your head up high. Don't show a reason for them to pass you by. You've gotta be strong, gotta hold on tight. This is a war where courage will win the fight. You gotta fight, gotta hold your head up high. Don't show a reason or a weakness for them to pass you by. You've gotta be strong, hold on tight. This is a war where courage will win the fight. Please listen to me, please. Not gonna get down on my knees. Gotta find a way to release, to set our people free. Please, please listen to me, please. Not gonna get down on my knees. Gotta find a way to release, to set our people free. Please, please listen to me, please. Not gonna get down on my knees, 'cause freedom is the key to our release. Thank you and have a great weekend.